Good evening, everyone. Today I'm going to talk to you about machchariya, uh, which you call stinginess in English. Uh, what is being stingy? What is machchariya in Pali? Actually, you know, the stinginess and greed they actually closely used by many. As greed is something that is too personal. It's mostly personal. Um, you know that it is an overconsumption of whatever food or the other things. Uh, but when it comes to stinginess, that's something much more than that. Stinginess means that you are over concerned and over attached to your possessions, your wealth, your whatever the stuff, and then you are developing a strong liking towards those possessions that you have, uh, and you will not be able to part or share those possessions whenever necessary, right? Once again, I'm gonna interpret that thing that stinginess in Buddhism. When you are over concerned and over attached to your possessions, whatever the things you have, then what happens to you is that you are developing a stronger liking or kind of clinging towards those possessions and those things, so that you are not able to part or share those things as necessary or whenever necessary. So that is what we call stinginess in Buddhism. This is one of the 16 upakilesas in the sutras. Now, in one of the sutras, Buddha told us that there could be 5 kinds of stinginess, that he can see, or that we can see in us. We may be sometimes stingy about our dwellings, places where we live, real estate. We may also be stingy about, mobile, fixed possessions. Stingy about praise. Now, praise is something really interesting. We all like, to be complimented. Sometimes you know, people keep it, very important in their lives, so that they are very stingy about praise, and they don't want to share, any achievement, compliment with other people. Sometimes people may be stingy about teachings. Now, Buddha refers to his teachings. Sometimes knowledge, wisdom. So anyway, there could be 5 kinds of stinginess that we can see in the sutras, but the most important thing is that people are stingy because they don't want to actually party. They don't want to share whatever the things they have with other people. Now, when someone is greedy, that's kind of a lower level, than stinginess. So usually it starts from greed, and then it can go up to stinginess, and from stinginess it can go up to miserliness. That is very dangerous, right? So Buddha asks us to work with this defilement in few ways. I would like to talk about a few of those techniques to work with this stinginess thing in our life. So the first thing that we need to understand about this stinginess is that we need to understand at which point we may be stingy. Sometimes we don't understand what we have, or how we need to share things we have with other people, right? And we may not see the outcome of this hoarding or this not sharing things we have whenever they are necessary to be shared with other people, right? So we don't see that clearly, this whole thing clearly at the beginning, before we getting stingy, right? That's one thing. The second thing is that in our life, we usually downsize things. We usually do things, for example, to make us simple. Sometimes it could be money, it could be some other things that we don't need. We make some plans to cost cut, downsize in our life. But do we downsize unnecessary wants, needs? I would say unnecessary wants in our life, right? Sometimes we do not take a look at our wants. Want is always a choice, right? Need is usually normal things that everybody wants. It could be food, it could be shelter, it could be medicine, it could be clothing, right? But when it comes to a want, we make a choice. Some choices are good, but mostly we expect more than those boundaries in our life. For example, like if somebody is to say something like this: I want to make a lot of money. That's a want. But then again, she might say, I desire to own a villa with an ocean view, right? So that's a desire. That's not just a want. So usually desire is an extension of the want, right? So want, desire. But here, what we want to understand is we need to take a good look of our wants and whether they are really necessary for us to continue, right? That's something in this understanding to tackle with stinginess. So the first, you could actually see what you really have, what you really want. Second, you could downsize. Third, you could you wanna think about this is karma, and everybody makes their own karma. And what's the price of hoarding things, right? And because we're gonna be reborn, again and again until we achieve nibbana. So hoarding doesn't make sense. We don't own anything at the end, right? We're gonna actually leave everything that we own before we die, right? So that's something helpful from the karma side. And also we need to be mindful about our mindset all the time. So the moment that we think that we want to hoard, we want to keep a lot of things with us, sometimes they are unnecessary. They are unnecessary wants, they are unnecessary desires. We need to be mindful to keep us alert about those unnecessary mentalities, those unnecessary thoughts, to not thoughts to make us aware that we are not going to let them grow, let them develop in us. So being mindful about our possessions and downsizing unnecessary wants, and looking at the karmic side of hoarding and keeping unnecessary things with you. So all these things help us to understand this unnecessary emotion called stinginess, right? So greed is the normal thing that we know, that we are simply greedy about something. But when it comes to stinginess, that's something much more than that. In stinginess, what we do is that we are over concerned, and then we are over attached to what we have, and then because of these over attachment and over concern, we going to develop a clinging about what we over attach, or what we over concern. So that what happens is that we don't expect somebody else to enjoy what we have at any point, be that your knowledge, be that your possessions, be that your something else. You are not tolerable about that thing, right? Sometimes we've seen people who have things who don't actually enjoy those things too, but they know that other people can enjoy those. They don't want to share such things with them, so they are actually they're simply hoarding. They're simply keeping things with them. Over time, they developing those thoughts of stinginess, right? That's really kind of like bad emotions that such people have. Those are really preventing them in understanding the basic value of simplicity. So simplicity is something that you can practice in addition to being mindful, looking at the karma side of things we have, and downsizing your unnecessary wants, right? Now, when we are simple, that I don't mean that we don't need to earn money, we should not keep money, we should not save, we should not invest. What I'm trying to say is that you can keep whatever the money you want, you can save, but the thing is that you should not do such things in a way that you are really obsessed, you are really uncomfortable in spending your time, right? For example, like sometimes some people are actually keeping a lot of things with them. At the same time, they are really worried about those things all along the day, actually. Oh, I have this thing, that thing, so I don't know what's going on with that particular thing. I have this thing, that thing. So that is not being simple. That is not being comfortable, actually. That's not a tolerable feeling. So in order for all of us to be simple and light in our life, we need to find out what we really want. At the same time, we need to acquire things in a way that we would not get obsessed, we would not get uncomfortable in keeping those things, right? So all these things are attached to stinginess. So find out better ways in understanding where you getting into this stinginess. At the same time, try to downsize unnecessary wants so that you may not have any unnecessary desires too. So stinginess, which you call machchariya, is basically an over concern about what you have, and at the same time because you are over concerned, you are also over attached to what you have, so that you are developing a clinging towards such things that you are over attached and over concerned. And then after all these over things happen, then what you normally do is that you are not partying, you are not sharing anything with other people, sometimes with your family members, sometimes with your friends. I don't say that you are supposed to do that, but it's good to share, to part, so that you are not holding up any unnecessary emotions like stinginess, miserliness, or whatever bunch of emotions that come up with this possessiveness, this whatever called selfishness. So I hope you today understood what is stinginess like, and then what are the techniques that we can use from Buddhism. So stay alert and mindful, so that you can actually work with any type of stingy thought that you may have randomly. At the same time, if you've been struggling with stinginess over time, then you can get ready, you can prepare yourself by looking at those techniques, what you call being mindful about your mentality, downsize your unnecessary wants and desires, and looking at the karma side of things, because we don't actually hold up these things forever, right? We have to leave all these things at some point. And at the same time, simply the concept of simplicity, or this simple life, right? So that's something really important. Okay, so have a good night, take care.